All right, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome back to Higher Education Leadership Unplugged, real talk for real results. So, for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Kathy Belletti. I'm the founder of Motivate with K.A.T, which is an admissions and leadership training company. And I'm doing a really short leadership series that consists of 10-minute videos on how to remain sane as a leader so that you can continue to motivate and pour into your teams. We're always talking about our teams and motivating them, but who's really supporting the leaders? So today we're talking about protecting your mental health because this is so critical. I know as leaders, you really want to win, you really want to see your teams succeed, but there has to be some type of balance. So I'm going to give you three really simple, quick tips that you can use every single day, or for some of you, every week, so that you can continue to build momentum, but still feel like you're not losing your sanity. Okay, so the first thing is take breaks. You have to make sure that you're taking breaks. And I know for me, this is something that was really difficult and challenging, because if you always have that passion and that drive to succeed and win at all times, sometimes you fall into this really crazy mode that I have to keep going regardless of what's happening around me. And it's not healthy because it can cause a lot of physical ailments and it will lead to burnout. So sometimes you have to double back. And I know that you may get what is it called, leadership guilt. You know how they talk about mom guilt, where you feel like every single time that you have to do something for yourself, it's that feeling of, oh my gosh, but I'm supposed to be doing something with the kids. Leaders go through the same exact things because you may feel like, all right, I need to take a break because my mind is getting really foggy, and the minute that you take 5 minutes for yourself, that guilt starts to rush back in because you're like, oh my gosh, but what about my teams? I'm supposed to be doing something right now. And I know how it feels to have to take a break and then feel as if you're failing yourself and your team because of that break, but it's very critical. All right, get up, walk around, stretch, drink some water. All right, I used to have a little mini Bluetooth speaker in my office when I was working out of a campus, and it was really tiny, but it was really powerful. And what I used to do is take time to listen to some type of music that was inspirational. For me, it's gospel, or I would listen to a podcast or a mini show that was really inspirational and motivating for me. All right. For me, that's Darius Daniels, or I listen to a lot of Ed Milet. But you have to do whatever it takes to make sure that you are calming yourself emotionally and mentally so that you can hit the ground running again. So make sure that you are taking those breaks. It's okay. All right. And like I said, I know how it feels. The second thing is block out time. You have to make sure that you're blocking out time for yourself, not only to make a mental break, but to make sure that you're getting your work done. Put a sign on the door saying, be back in 30 minutes if your campus permits, right? Because there are some establishments that may have a problem with that. For me, I think it's a trust problem when it comes to your leaders. If you're walking past a closed door, trust that your leaders and they're doing something that they're supposed to be doing, right? But if you cannot do that, notify your team. Transparency is really critical when it comes to making sure that you regroup, because what happens is, I know each of you experience, there's times during the day where you feel as if you can't get a thought out. There's things that you have to do, that there's ideas and some stuff that you have to come up with, and there's just like this mental block. And it's because at this point in time you're at your capacity, so you have to take a step back in order to regroup and think about those times where you really find that quiet space to just relax and do nothing and let your cup refill. All of a sudden these innovative ideas start to come to mind, and now you're really ready to go back in there and kill it. So when I talk about transparency, let your teams know, listen, in the next 30 minutes or the next hour, I have some really critical tasks that I have to take care of. Unless it's an absolute emergency, please don't talk to me. Okay, but it's necessary. And trust me, your teams will understand. For my director of admissions out there, if you are writing DOAs and you actually enroll students, you definitely have to get to the point where you're able to block out time for yourself, because you have to put aside time to call students as well, to interview, to enroll, to follow up, to stitch. And then you still have to manage your team who's doing the same exact things, not even mentioning everything that comes with the role of an enrollment director in the first place. So, for some of these things, it is absolutely necessary. And I need you not to feel like you're being selfish by telling your teams, hey, I'm not going to be available for the next 30 minutes or for the next hour because I really need to get these things out the way. If you don't set those standards and those boundaries for yourself, you're going to get absolutely nothing accomplished for the day. And guess what? You're going to be up all night because you're going to feel horrible about yourself. All right. So set boundaries. The third thing is find a buddy. This is so important because what happens in a lot of cases, especially when it comes to your team members, right? If they don't have an outlet where they can express how they feel or something that's bothering them, what happens? It begins to build up. It builds up in here and it builds up in here. And then it gets to the point where you just blow up. So find a buddy, find that person that understands your role and understands your pains and wins that you can actually sit down and vent to. So yes, you have your family members that you can turn to at night. Yes, when you're sitting down at the dining room table with your hubby or with your wife or your significant other, right? You can vent to them because sometimes you just need a listening ear. And at some points, they may have something to offer to the conversation, right? But it's nothing like having a buddy who understands your industry, who understands your role, who knows exactly what you're talking about when you just say one phrase and they can say, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. You need to talk, come in, close the door, sit down. Let's talk about it. You need that outlet. And sometimes you may just have to make the call. It doesn't have to be someone who's working out of the same building or establishment as you, but it could be anybody in the industry, number one, that you trust, because being able to trust someone with your feelings and being able to trust someone with your thoughts is also critical to your mental health. So you have to find that person who you can buddy up with, where you can say, I'm calling you to vent, and they totally understand. Okay. So make sure that you follow these 3 quick steps because it is going to be critical. You can't pour into your team if you're not right within. Okay. And that's the bottom line. So the first one is take breaks. As hard as this can be, I understand that your plates are full as leaders. There's so many things that you have to do throughout the day. There's so many moving parts. I understand, but nothing is more important than yourself as an individual, your mental and your physical being. Take breaks. Do what you need to do. The second thing is make sure that you're blocking out time because there are so many moving parts. You may realize that you have a checklist of 10 different items that you need to take care of, but only take care of the most critical, right? But block the time out to do that. And most importantly, after you've checked off a task, celebrate it. You'll be surprised how it builds your confidence to celebrate something that you've accomplished. And the third thing is make sure you find that buddy, that person that you can confide in, that person who's not offended based on what comes out of your mouth, right? Because they understand your pain, they understand your industry, they understand your role, what you go through, they understand the ups, and they also understand those downs. So sometimes you may have to take that step back and pick up the phone and call and say, I need to talk. Okay, because if I don't talk right now, I'm not sure what the next 15 minutes is going to look like. All right. I hope you gained some insights today from these 3 quick tips. Make sure that you make sure that you subscribe so that you do not miss any notifications. I also film a lot of 1-minute quick tips for my leaders and for your teams. Okay. And don't forget to share this with anybody else in the industry who you feel is drowning or someone who you feel just needs some type of encouragement, that this can help as well. All right. So thank you guys for joining. Until next time, see you at 2:15 tomorrow.